Happy June and welcome to this Friday's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young and it's finally time for finals. Both the NBA and NHL have reached their final stages, plus a lot more has been going on around the sports world, so I'll get right to it. Starting in the NBA, the finals are set with the matchup of the Dallas Mavericks and Boston Celtics. I've talked fairly extensively about how these two teams got here, so I won't repeat myself too much, but I will cover some of the major storylines. The main storyline that you'll hear all around the final series is the comparison of both teams' superstar duos. For Boston, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been one of the NBA's top duos since coming together in 2017. This is their second finals appearance along with 5 Eastern Conference Finals as teammates. They've combined to average 51 points per game in this finals run. And for Dallas, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving have only been teammates for 482 days, but have been on fire on their way to the finals, combining to average 51.6 points per game in the playoffs after being the top scoring duo of the regular season with 59.6 points per game. The Mavs and Celtics are two of the winningest teams since the 1999 season. Boston last won in 2008 and Dallas in 2011, so it's been over a decade since either team has hoisted the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Both teams rank in the top 3 in three-point shooting this season, so expect a lot of deep shots and high-scoring games. I mentioned it before, but the Celtics were basically the top team in the NBA across all categories this season, but the Mavericks weren't too far behind them. The final series tipped off last night with Game 1 in Boston. The Celtics used the power of home court advantage, starting the series with a win at the TD Garden in Boston to take a 1-0 lead. Game 2 will be Sunday at 5 p.m. in Boston again, then Game 3 heads to Dallas on Wednesday at 5:30. I truly don't have a prediction for this series. I believe on paper Boston should win, but with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, Dallas can shock some people. I just hope this series goes at least 6 games. Now for the other finals. The Stanley Cup finals are set, and the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers are ready to battle it out for the right to hoist the cup. Just like the NBA, there are thousands of storylines I could cover, but I'll keep it short and sweet and talk about just a few of the main ones. And what bigger main storyline than Connor McDavid? McDavid is a generational talent, and now he gets to play on one of the biggest stages in hockey for the first time in his career, the Stanley Cup Final. He's a sight to see every time he steps on the ice, and that's only been amplified in the playoffs. In 2022, McDavid carried the Oilers through 2 rounds with a ridiculous 33 points in just 16 games. Last year, he was again Edmonton's leader with 20 points in 12 games. This year, McDavid has somehow gotten better. His 31 points in 18 games is a jaw-dropping stat, but it really does just scratch the surface of how good he really is. As evidence, McDavid made an absurd goal in the final game with Dallas to help Edmonton close out the series. On the other side of the ice, the Florida Panthers are back in the finals for the 2nd season in a row. Florida was the underdog of last year's postseason, starting with a round 1 matchup against a historic Boston Bruins team. But after rallying from a 3-1 deficit to win in 7 games, the Panthers took the 2023 playoffs by storm with a trip to the Stanley Cup Final. However, with a heavily injured roster, they fell short to the Vegas Golden Knights in the finals. Florida has never won a Stanley Cup, whereas Edmonton has 5 under their belt. So this should be an absolutely historic matchup of 2 very talented teams, so don't miss out on any of the action. Game 1 will be tomorrow at 5 p.m. in Florida, followed by Game 2 on Monday, also at 5 p.m. I think Florida is probably the more well-rounded team, but I personally want to see Connor McDavid finally win the big one, so I'll be riding with Edmonton this series. Like always, I had to throw in some football news. It seems like every time I do this show and mention the NFL, I'm always saying that there's a new record-breaking contract being signed. And today's no different. The Minnesota Vikings have signed wide receiver Justin Jefferson to a 4-year, $140 million contract extension that includes $110 million guaranteed. With a salary of $35 million per year, Jefferson surpasses San Francisco's Nick Bosa as the league's highest paid non-quarterback in the league. In case you were wondering why a team would pay someone that much money, I have to say it's well-deserved. Jefferson is one of 5 players ever with 5,000 plus receiving yards in his first 4 seasons, and his 5,899 career yards are nearly 400 more than any other player in NFL history along that same measure, according to NFL research. His 98.3 receiving yards per game also stand as the most in NFL history, and he's somehow improved that average on a yearly basis the past 4 years. Jefferson's best season came in 2022, when he led the league in receptions with 128 and receiving yards with 1,809, which earned him Offensive Player of the Year award, along with his first All-Pro honor. I'm sure within the next few months, I'll be telling you about another player that breaks this record, but for now, it's a pretty incredible number. Moving over to tennis, the French Open tournament is currently going on, and one of the sport's biggest names made headlines, but for unfortunate reasons. Novak Djokovic has withdrawn from the French Open due to a knee injury, which had plagued his fourth-round victory against Francisco Cerundolo on Monday. Defending champion Djokovic was aiming to win his 25th Grand Slam singles title at Roland Garros, but pain in his right knee flared up during a bruising 5-set contest against Cerundolo. Because of his withdrawal, Casper Ruud of Norway has automatically advanced to the semifinals. Here's a look at the men's bracket. The final round of the tournament will be on Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific time. For the women's singles, American Coco Gauff is yet again making her way through the bracket. Gauff cemented her place in the last four of the French Open for the second time after recovering from a set down to beat former Wimbledon finalist Ons Jabeur. After a rough set or two, the world number 3 corrected herself just enough to survive Jabeur, a 3-time Grand Slam finalist. That win propelled her to a matchup with the number 1 ranked Iga Swiatek in the semifinals, and this is somewhat of a new rivalry. Gauff won her first major title at the 2023 US Open, but before that, the 20-year-old American was the runner-up to Swiatek at the French Open in 2022. Swiatek has won 10 out of their 11 matchups, so Gauff was looking to finally advance past her into the finals. Unfortunately, Gauff again fell short to her rival and was eliminated in the semifinals. The final round for the women will be tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Lastly, in a different form of tennis, the 2024 Michael John North American Seniors Open of Table Tennis took place right here in Laguna Woods Village this past weekend. This was a 2-star USA TT ranked event with over $13,000 in prizes for the winners. And you're looking at the results of the tournament. Congrats to all the winners of this year's tournament and to all of our residents who competed. With all that said, as always, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Sports Corner. Be sure to enjoy all the sports you possibly can this weekend and come right back next week for more news, updates, and highlights. I'm Cole Young. Enjoy the incoming summer weather, and I'll see you next time.